Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. This video is another in my practice session series for the Red Hat Certified Specialist in Linux Diagnostics and Troubleshooting exam EX342. Before I dive in, I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone who's watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click that subscribe button and ring the bell when you do, so you can be aware of when new content comes available. Also, a reminder that these are my practice sessions for the exam. I'm going through all of the posted objectives from Red Hat and am trying to either explain the objective or do some examples related to the objective. And at the end of the video, I'll do a little self-assessment and hopefully I'll feel confident with whatever the objective was. If I don't, I have exactly 1 week left to do some final review and get some maybe not forgotten knowledge, but knowledge that has not been recently touched back to the front side of my head. That being said, these should not be used as tutorials, nor should they be considered authoritative information. I am learning right along with you. Now, at this point, I try to have the information accurate because hopefully I have not learned something incorrect for the exam, but understand since I am still learning, these should not be used as tutorials or authoritative information. I put these on the internet in hopes of those that are also preparing for the exam might see some of the stuff that I do for a practice session and get some ideas of things that they can do to also prepare. So moving into the troubleshoot and fix network connectivity issues set of objectives, we're going to look at use standard tools to verify network connectivity. So let me go to, we'll pick on lab server 1 for today. And I'll go ahead and become root because of a couple of things that I'm going to want to do for this. So this is a pretty broad topic, use standard tools to verify network connectivity. Well, what does Red Hat consider standard tools? No one is really going to know, and even if we do know from the exam, we can't tell you because of NDA and such. But I would imagine that these are tools that almost any system administrator has probably had to deal with troubleshooting network problems. One of the first tools is ping, so I can ping any of my lab servers here. I'll ping lab server 2. And this is going to be sending ICMP echo packets and hopefully getting ICMP replies from a server. Of course, ICMP is not, always going to be allowed traffic-wise. Some other ways to test network connectivity is using the NC or netcat command, which I think comes just by default in Red Hat Enterprise Linux. It's a piece of Nmap, or I think Nmap is related to it. But if you don't have it, you can always, do a DNF what provides or just provides. Of course, I misspell provide. Yeah. We can see what package or packages will provide NCAT for you. And it's Nmap NCAT. So with NCAT, you can basically test network connections. You can also use it, I think, in a server capacity as well. So if I wanted to verify, other than just using SSH, that port 22 is open on lab server 3, I can do NCAT. Actually, I think I can do name resolution as well. So labserver3.egslab.com 22, and it was able to make a connection. Something that I use fairly often is, I believe it's -Z and -V. So let's see what it does first, and then I'll look it up since, it's my little lab environment. So ZV lab server 3 egslab.com 22. Yeah. And so what that does is opens a connection and then immediately closes it. It just basically tells you, hey, it's open. You can do UDP as well. I think, let me take a look at man for NCAT. Can do -U for UDP, if I remember correctly. Yeah. Now the thing with UDP is, you're not going to get a response. I haven't found a whole lot of use for UDP, but it is a thing that you can do. Now to set this up as a server, that's actually not something I have done often, but I know you can basically have it on a listen mode. So it's just -L. Okay, so let's see if we can put that to the test here. I am going to go into lab server 2. I'll become root for this, and So we'll obviously do -L for listen. We'll do -K. I want to keep it open. I don't want it to drop immediately. And probably just have to give it the port. And probably by default it will do TCP. So let's see what happens here. We'll do NC-LK and let's do port 20,000. All right, so I'm actually going to do another tab here and go into Lab Server 2. Let's see what we have listening. Okay, so it is doing TCP 20,000. You can get that from SS. Netstat is kind of the older command to use. I've been using SS for a while. I think it, in theory, can do more stuff than Netstat, but SSTULPN is something I run all the time. That's Netstat. SS, I want TCP, UDP. I want things that are listening, and I want numbers, and I can't remember what P is off the top of my head. Let's take a look. Oh, showing the process. Yep. So this is another common tool to see. Not necessarily. See, what's the exact language? Use standards tool to verify network connectivity. This you would use the SS command to verify if something is listening, or at least that's generally how I use it. So we have something listening on TCP 20,000. Let's see if we can ncat connect to it. So that's Lab Server 2 20,000. And we'll do our ZV, V for verbose. And it says no route to host. Now, the reason being, I have not allowed traffic on port 20,000. So let me do firewall CMD at port. This is not going to persist because I'm not going to do runtime to permanent or put it in the permanent firewall. But we'll add 20,000 TCP. And now we should get, yep, it connected to it, and then it closed the connection. And I think there's actually a way you can send messages over this. I highly doubt we'll have to do that on the exam, but ncat can be a way of just doing general troubleshooting connectivity. So we'll stop this. It says TULPN again, and that's gone, which is what we expected. So ping, netcat. You can use nmap to do network scans. Is that already installed? No, so let's install. I'll just do -y for this, the nmap command. One thing in a production environment, you may want to be careful before you start scanning subnets and such with nmap, simply because a lot of organizations are going to have some type of monitoring tools, and if they see, port scans happening from within your organization from from an IP address that, is not known for needing to do port scans, you might have to answer some questions about what you're doing. So just keep that in mind. Now, of course, I'm the master of my own network, so I am fully aware I'm about to do a port scan. All right, and if you were to look at the demand pages for nmap, there's all sorts of stuff you can do with nmap. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. Well, I'm going to just do, let's see, IP add or show. I'm just going to nmap this entire network real quick. So I'm just going to scan 10.0.50.0/24. So without any options, we're going to see what comes up. I'm expecting it probably to find 8 or 10 things that are up. I found 11 things that are up, and you can see all this information that has come out, like 10.156. I'm actually not sure what is that. No, it's not Lab Server 1. That might be my little workstation VM, but it has, well, 9090 it's basically dropping traffic for that, but 22 is open. Let's see what else I have here. You see my lab servers, or I'm sorry, closed is being dropped. Closed means the port is open. However, traffic can get to the port, but it is not accepting connections right now. As we can see that port 20,000 is still open on Lab Server 2, but obviously there's nothing listening on that. You can do, and there are examples here. If you want to do like a quicker scan, there's some options that you can feed that. I might spend a little time trolling through the man pages to get a couple of those in my head, but I really think if I'm needing to use Nmap on the exam, I can probably rely on the man pages for some things, which I'll still want to do a little reviewing of Nmap before, so probably sometime this weekend. Because of the issue that I mentioned before, of if you're in an environment that's being monitored, you're probably not going to be running Nmap scans. It's not a tool that I actually use very often. Another one you can use, I don't even have Telnet on this. No, let's install Telnet. DNF, install Telnet. This is not one that I use often. I'll actually have users that tell me, oh, I can't Telnet to something. I'm thinking, why are you using Telnet? It can be a useful thing. I have, or we probably all have at some point, you Telnet to an SMTP server, and then you can send it the necessary SMTP commands to do email over Telnet. And basically the idea is Telnet some host to some port and see if it works. But I imagine you are probably going to, or at least for me, I'm using Ping, I'm using Netcat or NC for short to test connectivity. I mean, there's all sorts of other things. If you're wanting to test against a web server, there's the curl command. Another that you can use is traceroute. And let's see if I can go to my DNS server. Or is it traceRT? I can never remember this from Windows to Linux systems. I think it is actually traceroute. Yeah. I think the new one is tracepath maybe. And by new one, I mean from the IP suite. That's it. Tracepath is not something I use often. And I'll bet what's happening, I think this, does it use ICMP? It probably does. Yeah, it's using ICMP because, I'm using 40.3 as my DNS server, so I know it can get traffic, but of course, like I said, ICMP is not the be-all, end-all. Speaking of ICMP, you can configure FirewallD to drop ICMP packets. I can't remember that off the top of my head. It's not a typical service, I don't think. Well, let's see. Firewall, CMD. Oh, what's the command to list all the services? Not like list the services that you have configured, but query service. No, we have to tell it service. When in doubt, --help. I'm going to grep for service. And query service. Get services, that's it. And you'll notice ICMP is not one of these. So that actually is something that I think I'll look up between, this weekend when I'm doing some of my review and I have a little bit more time than I have here on the weekday, because I get the feeling I might be asked to disable ICMP. But I am curious if there's anything just off the top of my head here. It was a strange, or maybe I'm thinking of whether or not you just drop traffic or if you send basically a message saying, hey, this traffic is dropped. All right, that's something that I feel like I need to review. Of course, there's nothing in the objectives that says, hey, you're going to have to block ICMP, but I just, for whatever reason, I have a feeling I might need to know that. So that'll be something to look up. But as far as verifying network connectivity, I think I'm pretty well set for that. Just standard tools that, and of course I poked fun at the objective earlier saying, what's a standard tool? And here I am saying the term. But I think I'm pretty well prepared to handle at least verifying network connectivity. Fixing it, that might be a different story, but I can verify it. I can verify that it's not working, right? So anyway, if you found the video useful, make sure you do click like. I want to thank returning subscribers for watching another video, as well as invite anyone watching, if you haven't subscribed, to click the subscribe button. Thank you for taking the time to watch, and I'll see you the next time.